Hello everyone and welcome to our first episode in our new series called Brazilian True Crimes. Today we'll be talking about one of the most famous crimes that happen in Brazil that involves a lot of people who try to understand its true motivations and its true reasons why. So let's begin with getting to know the family. So in this story, we have 6 main characters. Von Richthofen family, starting with the dad, Manfred, Marisia, which is the mom, Andreas, the little brother, and Suzane, who's the daughter. Suzane's grandfather was born in Germany and migrated to Brazil after a job offer. Marisia was 50 years old and she was a psychiatrist. Manfred was 49 years old and he was an engineer. And they had 2 children. The oldest one, Suzane, she was 19 at the time, 19 years old. And Andreas von Richthofen, he was 15 at the time. Suzane was a law student and Andreas was still in high school. In an afternoon of August 1999, the whole family went for a walk on Parque Ibirapuera, São Paulo. There, they met for the first time Daniel Cravinhos, who was a model airplane competitor. And he used to teach his students at this park. Andreas became so interested in this practice, and he asked his parents to have class with Daniel. So Daniel started giving Andreas model airplane lessons. Before long, the two became very close. Daniel used to take Andreas cycling and racing. Andreas really liked having the classes with Daniel and felt that he was kind of like a big brother to him. According to acquaintances, Andreas helped Daniel get close to his sister, Suzane, who was pretty clear that had an interest in Daniel. Quote, Suzane thought Daniel was cute and left a note for Andreas. That was said by a childhood friend of Suzane in testimony. Manfred and Marisa didn't mind when they started dating because they thought it was temporary. Reports state that Andreas listened to his sister's secrets and participated quite a lot in her life with her boyfriend. Also, according to these reports, Andreas admits that they did a lot of crimes together. He used to hide in the back of the trunk to go somewhere that he wasn't allowed because he was a minor. His first time smoking weed was with them. And like I said, Daniel was like a super big brother to Andrea. He really loved him and loved the fact that someone was giving him the attention that he wanted, to go out, do these fun things. And Daniel's brother, Christian, was also a dear friend to Andreas. Over time, the relationship became more serious, and then Manfred and Marisa became worried. So to survive, Daniel used to make 1 to 2 model airplanes to sell. And he used to sell them for 1,400 real, which was quite a lot of money by that time, and it still is to this day to spend in a model airplane. But I have no idea if that's a fair price or how does that work. He also did some maintenance for the other people who had the same hobby. So he used to get money by this type of work. While that happened, Suzane used to have an allowance and was starting to ask for more every month because she used to give her boyfriend Daniel a lot of gifts, clothes, used to lend him money. Because let me explain to you. Suzane's family wasn't super rich millionaires, had mentions and all of that. They weren't, but they had a much better situation than Danielle's family. So Danielle's brother, Christian, he was hospitalized for cocaine addiction, and he was struggling with debts with drug dealers. Reports also say that he served as a police informant. So the Richthofen couple thought that Daniel was not a good influence on Suzane. So friends of Suzane and Danielle mentioned that they really changed after their relationship started. They used to go out a lot with their friends and everything, and from that point on, they would only go out together. So every time Danielle's friends would have a meeting, a dinner, Suzane was there. And the same thing with Suzane. Danielle used to always go with her, and they started using drugs together. The last trip Suzane did without her boyfriend was on New Year's Eve 2000. After that, her friends say that it was difficult to see her without Danielle. So to stay in this relationship, Suzane stopped going to parties and didn't even go to her high school graduation, which made her parents quite mad. Even during school activities, Danielle used to go with Suzane. So that was something that a lot of people noticed, and later on it was mentioned by more than one people. Beatriz Chagas, Suzane's classmate, said to the police, quote, "It seemed like one person's life depended on the other. She just went for walks, went out at night, or traveled with him." Companions in model airplanes also mentioned that Danielle changed quite a lot. Sometimes he would give up training to go pick her up. That was said by a model aircraft designer, Enio Tosta. In Danielle's room in his parents' house, there were dozens of photos of him and Suzane. On the bed, there was a pillow printed with Suzane's picture next to her stuffed animals. Since the beginning of the relationship, the couple used to take advantage of afternoons where they wouldn't be in trouble if they got caught, and they used to go to a motel called Disco Verde Motel, and they used to go by taxi. But at the end of 2001, the parents began to try to convince Suzane that she should end the relationship, as they discovered Danielle's involvement with drugs, and their daughter was unmotivated to study. So Suzane started to spend nights with Danielle in secret. She used to tell her parents that she was going to sleep, and she would just sneak in the middle of the night and go to motels with him. Or sometimes she would tell her parents that she was going to a friend's house. So she would warn her friends, saying that she was going to tell her parents that she was at, for example, her friend's house. And if the parents called this friend, she should just back her up. One night in April 2002, the strategy went wrong. Marisia called Suzane's best friend and asked if she was sleeping there. So I guess her friend didn't know that she was out with Danielle and didn't cover her. The next morning, Marisa demanded explanations from Suzane, and she told them the truth, saying that she was in a motel with Danielle. So the couple decided to ban their relationship. And then the craziness started. So having to hide their relationship from their parents, Suzane and Andreas would sneak in the middle of the night. Danielle and Suzane used to take Andreas to a cyber cafe or like a LAN house, so he could, play video games and have a little bit of fun while they used to go to a motel. Suzane would also miss university classes, and that was with the help of Danielle's mom. So actually Danielle's family knew all along, like everything that they were doing. They never banned, the relationship. Also because like Suzane was from a good family. She was a law student. So there was no reason for them to ban the relationship, let's say. So Manfred was a very controlling dad. He used to give her gas money, only enough for her to leave the house and go to the university and come back. So he knew exactly like how much she would need, and he would give the gas money only for that, so she wouldn't go somewhere else. On Mother's Day 2002, the family was supposed to have lunch in a restaurant, and Suzane refused to go. So that was the first time that Manfred hit his daughter. He slapped her across the face, and she immediately left the house saying she wouldn't return. But she came back and she promised that she would end the relationship with Danielle. She used to wear like a promise ring, let's say a relationship ring. She took that off and she said, okay, I'm done with him. I'm gonna be a good daughter from now on. However, the relationship continued in secret. So with the ban, Suzane really changed. She became more aggressive towards her parents. She wasn't that close anymore to her mom. She used to pick up fights with them, leave the house. And she used to try to come home with Danielle, and they would just fight over and over again. Suzane on police reports said, quote, "In July, my parents went away for a month. That month was like a dream." So you can see here that they had an experience of just them not having her parents, not having this problem they were having. So they were free, they could do whatever they want. So when they came back, Suzane suggested to her dad that she should move to a flat or to an apartment so she could leave her relationship with Danielle. Manfred refused, saying that she should graduate from school and then she could move out and choose with whoever she wanted to have a relationship with. September 2002, the police was called to break up a fight. It was Manfred and Danielle fighting. It was the third time police was called to break up a fight between those two. Manfred mentioned to the police that day that one day he was going to beat up that kid being Danielle. Danielle mentioned to the police that Manfred threatened to beat up his daughter if they continued dating, and that made him really angry. So as I mentioned, it was the third altercation that the police had to intervene. Danielle and Suzane started talking about how much better their life would be if her parents weren't in it. And then it became a plan. They would be free of them and also keep their money. So that's a perfect life. So they came up with a plan which they would pretend it was an armed robbery. But they soon realized that they would need a third person to execute the plan. So they invited Christian, Danielle's brother, who at first refused. So they offered Christian the money that they would find at the house that Manfred used to keep like in a bag, something like that. And eventually Christian kind of agreed to go, but at the same time he wasn't like telling them that he would be there 100%. After a few days, Suzane had a conversation with her mother where her mother confided in her and said that she found out her dad was cheating on her. So Suzane felt really bad for her mom at that moment, and she mentioned that to Danielle and kind of wanted to cancel the plan or at least change it so that they wouldn't kill her mom, only her dad. So Danielle did not agree. They argued about it, and Danielle called her saying that he was going to take his life if they broke up. So Suzane went after him and was like super worried and said that, okay, the plan is still on. After a few days, it was Daniel's turn to rethink about it. He wanted to give up, but Suzane now was too invested in it. She convinced him by saying her dad sexually abused her since she was a little girl. So that day, Daniel was convinced more than ever. He decided he needed to end his life, Manfred's life. A few days before the crime, they were alone in the house, so the three of them tested using guns inside the house, and they quickly saw that would call the neighbors' attention as it was like a loud noise. So Daniel manufactured the weapons. He used iron bars. Actually, he manufactured the weapons in a way that, he got these iron bars and made it into like a dangerous weapon, let's say. So Suzane's part of the plan was to find the perfect day which they could execute the plan, and she would also open the door for them so they could come in. She also, a few days before the crime, she disconnected all the cameras, the surveillance cameras, so they wouldn't have any track of them coming into the house. Suzane's birthday was coming up. She was born on November 3rd, 1983. So she requested the murder of her parents as a birthday gift from Daniel. October 31st, 2002. Around 11 p.m., Daniel and Suzane took Andreas to this cyber cafe where Christian was already there, but he was hiding, so Andreas wouldn't see him because he already knew him. He was hiding, and then they left Andreas there, playing, having fun. They took Christian, so they mentioned, just to explain better, they told, as they always did, leave Andreas in a cyber cafe and would go to a motel. They said that this was going to happen to Andreas. So he was playing and they would go to a motel. But instead, they took Christian and drove to Suzane's house, where her parents were sleeping. So around midnight, they parked the car in the garage. According to the police, the iron bars were already in the car, which were used in the murder. The boys wore like t-shirts and they wore tights in their heads because they didn't want any hair to fall. So, later on, the police wouldn't find their hair and connect them to the crime, which is kind of stupid because that was like Suzane was living there and they went for a month away. So of course her boyfriend would come to the house, and his brother could have been there for a dinner or a party or anything like that. It's not like they watched a lot of CSI episodes before the crime, and they tried to come up with this perfect crime, but they worried about stuff that just don't make any sense for you to worry, and didn't worry enough about stuff that would make them get caught. So Suzane opened up the gate, went upstairs, and turned on the light in the hallway so the brothers could see the parents' room. As I mentioned, Marisia and Manfred were sleeping. Suzane separated trash bags and surgical gloves, which was used by her mother, who was a psychiatrist. The brothers, armed with iron bars, entered the couple's room. Daniel heads towards Manfred and Christian heads towards Marisia. They were hit on the head and Manfred died instantly. Marisia, when attacked, she woke up and tried to defend herself with her hands, which resulted in 3 fractured fingers. Christian told the police that he hit Marisia 5 times and she was still alive, and begging for them not to attack her children. which in her mind, they were asleep. Well, he also mentioned that while she was in agony, she was making a noise, kind of like snoring. So he got a damp towel and put it in her mouth so she would finally die. And because he put this damp towel so deep into her throat, it actually ended up breaking Marisa's neck. So after confirming that both of them were dead, Daniel placed a gun near his arm next to the bed and also covered his face with a towel. Marisa's body was wrapped in plastic bags, which had been left on the stairs by Suzane so that the brothers could deposit the iron bars and also their clothes full of blood. While all of that happened, Suzane was downstairs and she said that she was covering her ears. And she said that she kind of thought like, oh my God, I don't think my parents need to die, but that was too late because they were already murdering them. Which I honestly don't believe that she even crossed, like that thought even crossed her mind. But that's what she said. And you guys can even watch. There are 3 movies about this crime. 2 are based on their testimony. So one is Danielle's side and one is Suzane's side, which of course we can't know who's absolutely telling the truth. And I honestly don't think that none of those 2 versions are the truth. It's their own truth or what they think is gonna sell best. So I wanted to get more into like the before and the crime. So what happened after they committed the crime? They went back to, so they took all the iron bars and the clothes, put it in like a trash bin outside, like in a street nearby, and Danielle and Suzane went to the cyber cafe to pick up Andreas. And then Suzane and Andreas came back to the house. When they came back to the house, the door was open. And she mentioned to Andreas, like, maybe there was an armed robbery, something like that. So they didn't go in. She didn't allow Andreas to go in as well. And they called the police. The police came. And they went inside, they saw the parents murdered, and they were like, wow, how am I going to tell these kids that this happened? And so they went downstairs and gave them the news. And of course, Andreas started crying and everything. And Suzane's response was like, okay, so what do I need to do next? And that instantly caught the officer's attention. Because like you just got the news that your parents were brutally murdered and you're thinking of what do I need to do next? It just doesn't make sense. So these kind of things that I just don't understand, like how they got worried about not having their hair in the house, but they didn't get worried about, other things. And also, I forgot to mention that when they arrived, Christian tried to make a loud noise with the car door, so her parents would wake up and the plan, wouldn't be executed. But that didn't work. So, and he mentioned to them like, we can't do that because we're not going to know how to behave after the crime. Because one of the reasons that police found out they were the murderers was, first of all, this reaction. Second, when they went to the police station, Danielle and Suzane, they were like kissing and, she was sitting on his lap and like no emotion, no crying. and also like when they separated the two of them, they both went to the motel, but one mentioned they had sex, the other said they didn't. And it was just like, they didn't talk about the basics, And also they bought a Coke on the motel just to get the receipt so that they would prove they would have an alibi. Who gets the receipt of a motel? Like no one ever, right? And a few days later, the police knew that some dollar bills were stolen from the house, and, this got out. So a few days later, Christian went to a shop to buy a motorcycle, and he didn't buy in his name. He was there, but he didn't buy it in using his name. He used his friend's name, and he used dollars to buy this motorcycle. So that also caught the attention of the shop's owner, and he went to the police, and the police was already investigating Danielle and Suzane. So everything wrapped up, They got the three of them, and they just, at the end they confessed. And of course, after Suzane tried to manipulate Danielle to take all the blame by himself and just say that she wasn't aware of anything. But yeah, that was basically what happened. That the police did a very thorough job, and even though it was 2002, because we didn't have like a lot of technology to find out like proof, like for example a conversation, a WhatsApp conversation or anything like that, they were able to prove that they were the ones that did all of that. So Suzane and Danielle were sentenced 39 years in prison. Christian was sentenced 38 years in prison. So in Brazil, we have a law that even if you're sentenced 30-something years, 40-something years, 50, 60, 100, at that time, you are not allowed to spend more than 30 years in prison. Now the law changed to 40 years, which I still think it's not enough. But almost never, you spend all of that time in prison in Brazil, because the justice is just crazy. They always find ways to get these people free. And why am I saying that? Because Danielle and Christian were already free. I mean, like, it's not free 100%, but they were already going out and spending the day out by 2013. Suzane got that by 2014. Now, 2024, they're all free. They don't have to go back to the prison to sleep. They're all free. There's nothing holding them back. Suzane already got married to a doctor, and she had a baby boy. Danielle, he got married as well. I'm not sure if he had kids. I think so. And Christian is like back and forth in prison. He never left the criminal life. So that's it, you guys. I hope you guys like and enjoy this new series of our channel, and let me know down in the comments what do you think about everything that I just told you guys here, and if there is any Brazilian crime that you want me to share the story with you, please comment down below. See ya!